Good morning, dear learners. Welcome to teaching learning session. Today we'll discuss about the rural environment, right? In our previous lecture, we started with the rural marketing, right? It is very important that we should understand the environment where we want to market our product or the services, right? So rural environment basically has to be considered from the following three perspective of movement of economic value. So there are three perspectives that we should understand this rural environment from the three perspectives of movement of economic value, right? How the economic value moves from place to place, that is from rural to rural, urban to rural, and the rural to urban. Rural to rural perspective is basically about how movement of goods and services are taking place within the village, right? That is rural to rural is how the services, how the movement of goods and services are taking place within the village, right? These are the basically agriculture products that are moving from a smaller village to the larger villages, right? And most villages in the rural areas have a common place called adat, which is congregation, place for buying and selling of produce of the villages. And the problem with the small farmer is market access, and therefore they often end up selling their product in the local village or the market, right? And the large farmers or the commission agent flock to smaller villages to buy in bulk, and the kind of transition is are the part of rural to rural, right? So what is the economic, on the basis of the economic perspective, we can divide the economic value, that how the transfer of product and the services taking place, that is from rural to rural. In rural to rural, that one village, that the people of the villages, how that is the how the product or the produces moves within the villages, that is it is rural to rural, right? The small farmers, they have difficulty in accessing the markets, right? So they prefer, or they ends up in selling of their produce in the local market. And the at times the larger farmers or the commission agent or the traders, right, they buy from the small villages in bulk, and this type of transaction is known as rural to rural type of the market. Urban to rural perspective basically about how goods move from urban to rural area, which are FMCGs and FMCDs, and the various kind of the products like automobiles, tractors, or agri machines, as well as services like insurance, banking, and telecom. From urban to rural perspective, right, that is basically how the goods move from the urban area to the rural areas. This could be the FMCG or FMCD product, like the agri machines, tractors, and many other things could be there, right? Then the rural to urban has been one of agriculture produce like grains, fruits, vegetables that are moving from a rural market to the urban mandis. Right, you can probably find out in your city the location of mandis and sources from where agriculture produce are procured. Excuse me. So on the economic perspective, we can divide the movement of the produces or the product or the services from rural to rural area, from urban to rural, or rural to urban areas. In rural to rural movement, right, that is that describes how the produce or the products moves within the village. Then urban to rural is where the product from the urban areas comes to the rural areas, right? Like agricultural product and other FMCG products, right? Then rural to urban areas is when the produces, when the specifically the agriculture produces, and many other things, that is the textile could be there, or handicrafts could be there, many things could be there. That is when the products or the produce of the of rural produce, like fruits, vegetables, or handicrafts that are moving from rural market to the urban market or the mandis. Right, about half of the rural population owns or lease land to cultivate it for their livelihood. right? So we discussed to which area the uh, agencies or the government consider as the rural area, right? As per one of the definitions, right, at least 75% of male should be engaged or occupied in the agricultural based activities, right? Those areas are considered as the rural areas. So about half of the rural populations owns or lease the land to cultivate it for their livelihood. Another 27% are dependent on these cultivators for the jobs as agricultural laborers, right? Few have the lands or they lease the land to cultivate, and 27%, half of the population and of rural population, and the 27% are dependent on these cultivators because for their jobs as the agricultural day laborers, the 27% work as a laborer for these cultivators, big cultivators, right? Total 77% of rural population depends on land only for their living, and land is the source of living, right? As we discussed, as per um, uh, definitions of many agencies, that 75%, at least 75% of the male population or the population should be engaged in the um, agricultural activities, then that will be considered as the rural area, right? So half of the rural population owns or lease the land to cultivate it for their livelihood, and 27% depends on these cultivators for jobs, and they work as a agricultural laborers. And then total of 77% population, rural population, depends on the land for their living and for their livings, right? Directly or indirectly, they depends on the land. There are other constituting the small portions who are proportions who are engaged in business like petty shopkeepers or the merchant, and the salary earners like teachers, health workers, and the village level officers. So 75 to 77% are dependent on the land for their livelihood, and there are some a small section is there who are engaged in other businesses like teaching or health worker or a village level officer or merchant or a petty shopkeepers, right, for their livelihood. The implication of this is that the income generation in rural area entirely depends on how land is used, what crops are cultivated, and how much is marketed and how much is consumed, and marketing arrangements for the production, right? So in the so that is the income. Actually the income depends entirely on the land, right? How land is used, how the crops are what type of crops are cultivated, how much of the crop is marketed, and how much is consumed, and the marketing arrangement for the production. 75% of income generation in rural areas for agriculture and agriculture related activities. So 75% of income generation depends on in the rural area depends on the agricultural and the agricultural related activities, right? So majority, right? Majority in the rural areas, or the majority of population in rural area depends on the land for their earnings, and or at least or at most or approximately, not at least or at most, approximately 75% of rural area depends on the land for their income. So income generation in rural area is from the agriculture or the agriculture related activities. That's why that's why the income is low or seasonal. The incomes of the rural people depends on the season. One of the deterrents for the marketer to exploit the rural market potential has been vastness of the rural market in terms of area covered and location of the rural population. As we all know that India is made up of villages, right? And this is one of the major problem of the marketers, because the villages or the rural areas geographically scattered, right? And there is the vastness of the rural market in terms of the area covered. There is a large there is a vastness in the area covered in the rural market and the location of the rural population, and they are geographically, actually there are many villages, a large, there is a vastness in the area covered by the rural population, but they are geographically scattered, and at times it becomes difficult to reach to those villages. It is much easier to cater the needs of the urban population because of their concentration, but it is very difficult in the case of rural population because of their widespread nature. Right? It is easy because in urban area we all know that population density is more and they are concentrated. It is easier for the marketer to market their produce or to reach to the customer or the potential customer. It is easier in urban areas, and because of the vastness in the rural areas and the geographical scatteredness is another reason which creates a problem for the marketers, and then it becomes difficult to reach to the rural population because of the widespread nature of the rural areas or because of the geographical spreadness. Right? The villagers are also not uniform in size. The villages are not uniform in size. That is, 48% of villages have population there less than 500% and about 100 household, which is probable of no consequence to the marketer. Right. There are many villages and a large geographical area has been covered by the rural area, and right, there is a vast area that we consider as a rural area, but again there is another problem, right, that these villages are not uniform in size. Few of the villages, that is around 40% of villages, not the few, it's a big number, that the 48% of villages have a population less than 500 persons or about 100 households, and then it doesn't attract the marketers, and which is probably no consequence to the marketer, and this is that is it becomes, for marketer it is very unattractive. The location and the size of population of village throw a challenge to the marketer, right? Because to reach to the 100 households and the 500 person or the 500 person, and out of the 500, you never know how many will be interested in your produce or the product, right? Then it becomes a challenge for the marketers whether to cover up those and how to cover up those areas, and the location and the size of population of village throw a challenge to the marketer. At times the location could be a far flung location, where there could not be any access, right? There could be the commutation problem as well as the communication problems. So the location and the size of the population of village throws a challenge to the marketer. What is a rural marketing model? See, as we all know that the companies work marketing model before entering the market, right? Every company works on the model, they frame a model, they make a model before entering in any of the market. They approach different models to reach to the target market, right? The model could be the market, the same company could adopt different type of a model for different market areas, or they can take the same type of a model, right, to reach to the target market. But again it varies from company to company and product to the product, and the companies actually work marketing model before entering the market, and the work is organized in a way which gives the step by step process to implement. The process helps the companies to analyze the real market and launch of their business, right? So see, this model, this work is an organized way. This how this model help. This model is actually an organized way which helps the step by step process to implement how to enter to that market, or what it helps in making their strategies, and the process helps in companies to analyze the real market and launch of their business. A rural marketing environment literally means surroundings. What is the environment? Right? The term environment means surroundings, external object, influences or circumstances which someone or something exist. Right? That is the environment. right? What is the environment? If we go by the environment, what is environment? Environment literally means the surroundings, right? Or external objects, right? Influences or circumstances under which someone or something exists. That is environment. The environment of an organization is the aggregate of all conditions, events and influence that surrounds and affects it. So first of all, it is very important to understand the environment. What is environment? Environment could be anything, or it could be it means the surroundings, right? Surroundings, the external objects or influences or circumstances under which someone or something exists. The environment of an organization is the aggregate of all conditions, events, and influences that surrounds and affect it. So, what is the organizational environment? So, the organizational environment is actually the aggregate of all conditions. What all conditions are there? The events or the influences that surrounds and affect it. Right? So there could be two type of the environment, the internal environment or the external environment. The external environment, what is the difference between the internal environment and the external environment? Internal environment, organizational internal environment is somewhat in control of the organization, while the external environment is not in the control of the organization. Or we can put we can say it's a micro environment or macro environment or external environment or internal environment, right? So marketing environment could be divided into two, micro environment or internal environment, or macro or external environment, right? Micro environment are partially controllable, that it could be that it is in control of the organization, while micro environment, macro environments are, or the external environments are beyond the control of any organization. The micro environment could further be divided into task environment and the internal environment. What is the task environment? The task environment could be the supplier, intermediaries, customers, and competitors, right? All these are related to the task, right? So it is somewhat in control of the organization. It could be partially controlled, the task environment, that the suppliers, right? You should have a good relationship with the suppliers, customers, and the competitors, right? It is important to understand your strength and weaknesses, opportunities and threat, and should take these steps accordingly. And at times intermediaries, all these comes under the task environment. While the internal environment, the company itself, members, makeup, management, money, etc. All these are the internal environment. Internal environment, like it includes the working culture, right? What type of a work culture is there? What type of that the leadership, what type of leadership is there? Leadership, actually we can say it's a management, right? What type of management is there in the organization or company, right? Internal environment then includes your finances or the money and the member. While macro environment, macro or the external environment, which are not in control, that is uncontrollable, like political environment, right? Political environment of any state is not in control of any organization. Or economic environment, right? Because the world is globalized world, and the economy of each and every country impacts the economy of other countries, right? So it is beyond the control of anyone. So economic environment or the economy is the external environment. Then the demographics, that demography is not under control of anyone. That is the age, income, all these comes under education, right, of the individual or of the required population. That all comes under demographic and the external environment. Then the technological development, that, right? That is with the growth, that is the growth, as we all know that that there is a vast advancement in technologically or technically. The world has grown so much, right? And this technological advancement is not in control of anyone, right? We can say whether the technological, it could be debatable that whether these technological development are good or not, but these technological development are not in control of anyone, they are uncontrollable. Then comes the global, that is the global environment, right? Because of the globalization, as I said, that the any that the political or the economic changes in one of the country impacts the other countries, they have impact on the other countries, like, right? Then the social environment or the cultural environment, it is beyond the control of anyone, because the society, right, society is not in control of anyone, or the culture, right, socio-cultural environment, right? So what type of society is that, what are their values, morals, and the belief system, that is not in control of any of the organization. It is beyond control of any of the organization, right? So marketing environment could be macro environment or could be micro environment, right? So rural population, actually there are two sections of the rural population. A large portion has a low income and low consumption levels, and the rest are rich people, rich rural people, right? Majority, that is a large portion of the rural population, they are poor, right? They have a low income and low consumption level. About 75% of Indian people resides in a rural area, or in other words, for every consumer in the urban area, there are three of them in the rural areas, right? As compared, there is one is to three from urban to the rural consumer, right? So seven, because 75% of Indian population resides in the rural areas. This large population will require a wide range of consumables and durable goods and services. At same time, the need of the rural areas do not automatically guarantee a market unless it is backed by income and resultant purchase power. Although the large population of the, or the 75% of Indian population resides in the rural market, and there is a wide requirement, or they will require a wide range of the consumables or durable goods and the services. But again, because of the low income, or because of the income, right, the demand could vary. The vast majority of rural population, the main occupation is agriculture, agriculture labor, business, and non-agriculture labor or salary earner. Right? We can distinguish it on basis of percentage that the 50% of the rural population is based on their source of income is agriculture. For 27% work as an agricultural laborers, and 10% own the businesses, and 9% are the non-agricultural laborers, and the salary earners are just 2%. So this is actually gives an idea about the rural population, what type of a rural population is there. Rural marketing environment, excuse me. As we said, environment means, literally means the surroundings, external objects, influences, or circumstances under which something or someone exists. We started with this, right? The environment of an organization is aggregate of any conditions, or of all conditions, events, and influences that surrounds and affects it, right? There are external environments like socio-cultural environment, economic environment, technological environment, political environment, legal environment. All these are not under control of anyone, right? Or these are called as the macro environment or the external environment, right? There are some important variables in the mega environment. Let's start with the economic environment. Economic environment includes the GDP trend. It is not in control of anyone. It is beyond the control of organization, that GDP. Then the interest rates. right? Interest rate is beyond the control of GDP, and it impacts the economy as well as the business. Inflation, right? Then again, inflation is not in control of the organization, right? But it impacts the organization or the business or the consumption pattern of the. Then the type of economy, what type of economy is that, it also impacts, right? Then the income impacts the economy, right? Well, if people have money, they will prefer to spend money on their more money on their needs, wants, or even on the hobbies. If the income is low, they will not prefer to spend much money, or their purchasing power will be less, right? Then the disposable income is important. Income, not an income, but the disposable income, how much they can spend. Then the wage price control plays a very important role, and money supply in the market, right? It is beyond the control of anyone. Even if you have money and there is a shortage of money supply in the market, people will not prefer to take out their money and will not prefer to spend their money. Money supply matters a lot. If there is a money supply in the market, then it means people have money and they will take out the money and will spend. Then another aspect, another variable is the technological environment. Technological environment means spending by government on R&D, that is research and development. How much research and development the government is spending, right? Uh, um, and then come the industry spending on the R&D. Not only the government, but the spending of industries on R&D, because with research and development, industry can grow and could find out the solutions for the problem. Then focus on the technology, right? That nowadays we all know that companies are focusing on the technology, like rather than giving the advertisement in the that is an traditional media, right? They prefer to give ads online, right? So this is because of the technological advancement. Another example of the technological advancement is artificial intelligence, right? When you scroll down through some social media site, that artificial intelligence reads your interest and start displaying the content as per your interest, right? So focus on the technology. Patent protection, then patent protection is very important, so it's a technological, right? Productive communication and infrastructure, right? So this is also a technological environment. Because of the advancement of the infrastructure, or because of the advancement in the communication, it becomes easier for the organization to reach to the far flung areas, right? And then comes the new products, right? New product plays a very important role. We all know that every product has a life cycle. It is very important that if company wants to survive, they should introduce new products from time to time. Then the commercialization of technology is important, that if someone has developed some type of a technology, it is important that they should commercialize their technology. Commercialization of technology means, right, you are selling out your technology so that others could also use that technology, right? Then political and legal environment, right? Again, it is mega environment or the macro environment, and is beyond control of anyone. That is the type of government, what type of government is, it is beyond the control of any organization. Because actually on the type of, what is the meaning of type of government? Actually the type of policies that government frames, right? So it is beyond the control of anyone, and it impacts the industry. Then the tax laws, right? What are the tax laws? How much one has to give? It impacts the. This is beyond the control of anyone, because only the government could define or declare the tax laws. Foreign trade regulation. What type of regulations are there on the foreign trade? What all one should know before doing this. Constitutional framework is important. That if everyone should follow the constitution and should follow the law of the state, right? Wherever from wherever you are operating. So constitutional framework. Antitrust litigation is very important. At times, people file the antitrust litigation. Labor laws are very important. It is beyond the control of anyone, but it impacts the environment, mega environment. What type of labor laws are there? Attitude towards the foreign companies, right? So, that is what is the attitude towards the foreign companies very important, and the stability of the government again plays a very important role, right? It is that's the government, that is the type of the government. Stability of government is not in control of anyone, but as we all know that politics and the legal environment impacts the business, right? Then the socio-cultural, another variable or the factor is socio-cultural factor, like lifestyle, socio-cultural environment like lifestyle. uh, what is the lifestyle of the society, or are the what is allowed in the culture and not. Lifestyle impacts. Then the religion plays a very important role. Religion controls our life directly or indirectly. Language is important, right? Then because religion, lifestyle, it is beyond the control of anyone. Customs of that particular society plays a very important role, right? We people usually don't want to move away from their customs or practices, right? Age plays a very important role in socio-cultural environment, because with the age, right, there will be change in the thinking process or the demands, right? It varies from age to age. Age distribution plays a very important role, right? Again, it is beyond control of anyone. Then comes a growth rate of the population, at which rate the population grows. It plays a very important role, right? So all these are the mega environment, right, or the external environment, and plays a very important role in rural environment, right, or any environment. Now, rural economic environment, the rural economy could be divided into the farm. The rural economy could be based on the two. It could be categorized into two: the farm sector and the non-farm sector. Farm sector, farm sector includes like agriculture, animal husbandry, horticulture, forestry, and fishery. All these comes under farm sector. Non-farm sector like rural industries, agro processing, manufacturing, mining and quarrying and constructions, or rural services like retailing and trading, community and social service, transport and storage, and the communication. So, actually, rural economy could be divided into two. The farm sector. Farm sector means that is all that which is based on the agriculture. That is the agriculture, poultry, forestry, horticulture, animal husbandry, that is directly or indirectly related to the agriculture. And non-farm sector could be the industry, that is a rural industry, or the rural services. Industry includes that is the agro processing industry, or it could be the manufacturing industry, right? Or it could be mining, and or the construction. So it all this is the non-farm sector, rural industry. Then the rural services like retailing and trading. People usually retail and trade the product. Community and social services could be the rural services, right? Like your education, right? Health services and other things. Transport and storage, right? It comes under the service sectors, and then the communication comes under the sectors, right? So rural social cultural environment, right? So rural social scenario is religious bent of mind, right? What is the religious, what are the impact of religion on the people of that particular society? What type of mindset people have, that is the religions bent of mind. Then the social customs. Social customs plays a very important role. Religious bent of mind, social customs. We all know that the rural people, they follow the customs. what type of customs they have, or what type of customs they follow. It plays a very important role. Then the caste system. In India, we all know that there is a caste hierarchy, right? And this cultural, this socio-cultural environment and this caste hierarchy plays a very important role in Indian society, right? So caste system plays a very important role in socio-cultural environment because of a particular because a particular caste could prefer something or could not prefer something else, while for other class it could be vice versa. Then in socio-cultural environment includes the gender biasness. Gender biasness, what is gender? We all know what is gender. That is on the basis of the muscle strength or on the basis of the sex, the roles has been divided, right? And this gender term has been coined on the basis of the division of labor, that is on the basis of sex. When there is a division of labor, then we say that it is a gender. So gender discrimination is there. Gender is like male and the female. There is discrimination. What a male can do and what a female cannot do, or what female can do a male cannot do or should not do. That is gender discrimination. And again, this is gender is nothing but it's a sociological construct. It's a social construct, and socio-cultural environment plays a very important role, right? Then the literacy is a socio-cultural environment. Literacy, we all know that the education level impacts our thinking, right? So if people are well educated, they can understand the things properly, and if the literacy level is low, then at times it becomes very difficult to handle the people, or to tell to educate them, right? So literacy rate is very important, right? Cultural diversity plays a very important role, right? Whether what type of society is that, whether it's a homogeneous society or it's a heterogeneous or a pluralistic society. Cultural diversity, when there is a cultural diversity, the demand for the product could be more or less, right? Again, it depends on the cultural diversity impact the environment, rural marketing environment. Then the group influences on behavior, right? As we all know that rural people, that the and rural area people are influenced by each other, right? There are certain group influencers, or while they want to purchase something, they trust other people, and they prefer word of mouth rather than the advertisement. So a group influencing system is there, right? There, that the group influences on the behavior, because they in rural areas people want to be together, and there is a feeling of we group. And if they feel like if they will move out from that group, then it would create a problem for them. So a group influences on the behavior. If one wants to move away from that particular thinking, or from the particular thinking of a group, but at times the group influences on the behavior of an individual. They behave in that particular way because of the influence of the group. So all these are the socio cultural environment which impacts the rural marketing environment. That is, the religion plays a very important role, right? Because when the people are more religious, or when they have a religious mindset, they will say that it is allowed in our religion and it is not allowed in our religion. We will go as per our religions or teachings of as per as a religion. Then at times it becomes difficult for the rural marketer for the marketer to market their product in the rural areas, right? uh, then comes the population control. There was a time when it was difficult to convince the rural people that population how important the population control is. Then the social customs, right? Social customs plays a very important role. We discussed about this caste system. We discussed about all the rural social cultural environment, right? Caste system in India, the Brahmins are at the top, then the Kshatriyas, then the Vaishyas, and the Shudras at the bottom, and untouchable comes nowhere. Even they have their subcaste, right? We all know that these are the caste, but even in Brahman, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, there are the subcaste. Shudras suffered from entering a place visited by the top. Change in the zamindari help system helps in abolition of this, and marketers have to be sensitive on this issue, right? So because caste system plays a, there is a hierarchy of caste, and this caste system plays a very important role in India, in India basically, whether it's in Indian politics or society. So marketers should be very sensitive to the issues like the caste system, right? It is very important, and in uh, rural areas, specifically in rural areas, this caste system is very prevalent, right? Household types in India, right? We all know that type of household, that there is, if it's a single member household, right, then it is a single member household, only one member is there. In rural area it is 5.15, and in urban area it is 7.95. Nuclear pair means the husband and wife, right? Both spouses are there, head and spouse is there. Then in rural area it is 4.91, that is even lesser than the single member, and in urban areas it is 5.20. Nuclear, that is nuclear family is there, or nuclear type of household is there, that is the had the spouse, his mother, father, and unmarried children. 37.88% in rural areas and 41.57 in urban areas. Then the broken nuclear, had on the spouse with or without unmarried children, but with other relations who are not currently having spouse. That in rural areas it is 4.5, or while in urban area it is 4.24. This type of the household is more in rural area than the urban areas, that is the broken nuclear. Supplemented nuclear, had and spouse with or without unmarried children, but with other unmarried or separated or divorced or a widowed relation. Right? In rural area it is more, that is 16.81, or while in urban areas it is 15.44. Right? Then the supplemented broken nuclear, that is head without spouse, with or without unmarried children, but with other unmarried or separated or divorced or widowed relation, that is more in rural areas, that is it is around 5.676%, and in urban area it is 5.13%, right? So this is the socio-cultural factor, right? So we can see that what type of households are there in the urban areas and the rural areas, and marketers should take care of all these things, and should make these strategies by keeping all these things in mind. Rural political environment, right? As we all know that the political environment plays a very important role, historically controlled by the upper caste, that is the panchayat and the village pradhan, right? That the political environment in rural political environment in rural areas, we all know there is a panchayat system, and where historically it was controlled by the upper caste. Then the Panchayat Raj system came into effect, in which all the government departments such as education, health, agriculture, development, etc., form an integrated approach for the development of their rural areas. Right? Before the Panchayat Raj, right, there was a Jamindari system, right, and was controlled by the upper caste, and then the Panchayat Raj system was formed, or it came into the effect, and in this Panchayat Raj system, all the government departments, whether it's an educational department, health department, or any other development department, right, it forms an integrated approach. They are all integrated for the development of the rural area. They work together for the development of the rural area. Panchayati Raj institution, right? This is the rural political environment, that panchayati system is there. This Panchayati Raj system provides the three-tier system to Panchayati Raj for all state population exceeding 2 million. Right. So the Panchayati Raj system provide three-tier system to Panchayati Raj for all state population, right? Exceeding 2 million population to hold Panchayat election regularly after every 5 years, right? We all know that to we elect the member of the Panchayat to provide reservation for SC, ST women at least 33% to appoint the state finance commission preparation of economic development and the social justice and to collect taxes, duties, tolls and fees. All these are all this comes under the political system, right? Then the rural technological environment. What is the rural technological environment? Is triggered by the three main revolutions: green revolution, white revolution, right? And introduction of non-government agencies in development sector. What is green revolution? We all know about the green revolution. It was a technological advancement or the advancement. It was during the period of 67 to 78. It aimed to improve the food self-sufficiency. We all know that after independence, there was the crunch of grains or the foods in India, and from under 1967 and 78, right? What the government aimed, the government at that time aimed to improve the food in food self-sufficiency. That before that we used to import the food, right? Food grains, right? Introduction of mechanization first time, right? For the first time, the machines were introduced in the agriculture system. Increase in the farm production also introduced the mechanized processing, spurring growth of manufacturing sector, right? For the first time during this, the machines were introduced in the agriculture, and it has increased the farm production, and it helped in growth of the manufacturing sector. When there is a demand for the machine, it will impact the manufacturing sector, or definitely boosted the farm productivity, employment creation and the standard of living, right? So the green revolution, because of the green revolution, we become food self-sufficient, we become self-sufficient now. After green revolution, we can produce for our consumption or more than the requirements, right? We can, at times we and this green revolution has introduced the mechanization for the first time. There was a machine system, and this boosted the farm productivity, employment creation and the standard of living, because it has increased the income, right? So standard of living goes up automatically, and because of the demands of the machines, and because now people have the money, they can buy purchases the machines and other things, so it has created the employment, and it has automatically, we all know that it has increased the productivity, farm productivity. Now what is the white revolution? Right, in white revolution, green revolution is, it is in the field of the agricultural products like grains, food grains, while the white revolution is aims for achieving self-sufficiency in milk products by the government, right? White, right, that is self-sufficiency in milk products, right? That is the white revolution. Develops linkage between the rural populations and the urban consumers. We all know that the that uh, uh, rural population, they produces these milk products, and these milk products basically they sell of their these milk products to the urban customers. So a linkage has been developed between the rural producers and the urban consumers. The producers for these milk products are from the rural areas, that is from rural to urban, and the consumers for these products are in the urban areas. Formation of the producers cooperative, which institutionalization and producing the processing milk. We all know about the Amul and various other, right? There are various cooperatives, right? which produces the processed milk. Milk production increased almost five folds from 1950 to 200 2001. So it has gone up five times. Areas affected are the Gujarat, Punjab, Haryana, and UP. Right, White Revolution. The areas affected by the White Revolutions are the Gujarat, right, Punjab, Haryana, and UP. Right, they become self-sufficient in producing the milk product, and they sell off their product. The rural producers sell off their milk product to the urban consumer. And this, after this white revolution, the milk production has increased five times from 1950 to 2001. Then NGO movement provides numerous services for upgradation of the rural sector, helps in providing assistance of technological extension in the rural areas, provide basis of the healthcare, child care, education, training opportunities, which helps in the development. So there are that is the non-government organization, right? They also helps technologically for the betterment of the rural populations, right? They provide the services for the upgradation of the rural sectors like child care. They facilitate the child care, health care, education, right, and other training opportunities, which helps in the development of the rural populations. Then comes the demographic environment, right? Demographic environment is again not in control of anyone. The rural population in terms of size, age, gender, education, occupation, land holding, and incomes. All this comes under the demographic environment, right? Right. When we define the rural population in terms of its size, right? As we discussed that there are around 47% of villages are there where there are only the population size is only 500, right? Or 100 households. So on the basis of size, then the on the basis of age, right? Who all lives in the villages? As nowadays we say that all elderly people live in the villages, and the young ones move out from the villages. Then the gender, right? Then the gender, it is important to understand the gender, education, occupation, land holding, and the income system, right? The rural population has grown up over 200 millions over last two decades. The proportion of rural household continue to be 70%, is expected to stabilize even in the rural thirst continue. There is a change in the rural family structure, right? What is the change in the rural family structure? Traditionally the household in the rural India were the joint families, right? We all know that in India there was a joint family system. In fact, there is a joint family system, but now this there is a change in the family structure, right? Traditionally the household in India were joint family system, but with the rise of the population, the resulting pressure on the land, and several other socioeconomic factors like education, a separate source of income, and the migration, etc. The joint families are now breaking up apart, and the families are now gradually moving towards a nuclear model in rural areas, right? So now joint families are breaking apart, and the nuclear families are gradually moving towards the rural areas. The concept of that individualized joint family is emerging, in which the families stay in the same house but have a separate kitchens, right? A joint family, there are certain characteristics of joint family, and one of the characteristics of joint family is that the people share the same household and eat food cooked in the same kitchen. But nowadays there is a change, that change because of the change in the society, because of change in the demographic factors, because of the change in the socio-economic condition. A new concept, that is the individualized joint family, is emerging. What is individualized joint family? That they are sharing a common household, they are staying in the same house, but they have a separate kitchen, they are cooking their own food. With increase in the individualized joint and the nuclear family, the range and the number of branded product entering in family is likely to increase. When they are sharing the same household, but they have a different kitchen, then if there are three families in the same house, then they might need the three refrigerators or three gas cylinders or other things required in the kitchen and things. So with increased in the individualized joint and the nuclear families, the range and the number of branded product entering the family is likely to increase, right? So the demand for the product is on rise because of the individualized family and because of the other thing. Then comes the age. 35% of rural population is in the consuming age of 15 to 34 years, and this is expected to grow further in the coming years. So age matters a lot because it is important that whether to which age group you are offering your product. And as per the studies, right, that 35% of rural population is between the age of 15 and 34 years. Education. 21% of rural population is SSC or HSC and higher pass out. So 21% are either SSC or HSC pass out, and the literacy rate has gone up from 53% in 2000 to 65% in 2011. And the literacy rate is higher in the southern region of the country as compared to the northern region of the country. So literacy rate is going up, that in 2000 the literacy rate was 53%, and in 2011, as per the census of 2011, the literacy rate is about 65%. So literacy rate is going up, so it will impact the consumption pattern. Occupation. Agriculture was the principal occupation in rural India. It is now being replaced by the non-traditional occupation like shops. It includes the shops or trades or skilled work or the salaried jobs too. But still, agriculture is the principal occupation in India, in rural India. Rising literacy rate, improved upgraded skill set, and new technology have encouraged rural people to take up the new occupation. On the account of land fragmentation, declining profitability in the farm sector, and increasing nuclearization of the family, right? So land fragmentation is going on, right? India is no longer an agrarian economy. There is increasing incidence of supplementary occupation. 56% stated the self-employment in agriculture as their supplementary occupation of families. Income. Then income is another demographic variable which plays a very important role. A rural economy constitutes about 56% share of the total economy incomes in India, right? The per capita income for rural India has increased INR 4,860 in 1994 to 11,227 in 2004 and 5. So, rural economy constitutes 56% of total income in India because 75% of population of India lives in rural areas. In 2010, the per capita income was estimated around 15,173. The urban rural disparity ratio had declined from 2.41 in 1995-96 to 95 to 1.96 in 2001, that is narrowing down the gap. It means this shows that the income of the rural people is going up. According to McKinsey report, the middle class and the above will grow sixfold from 32 million in 2005 to 208 million in 2025. So, McKinsey report states that there will be sixfold increase, right, of the middle class. The middle class and above will grow sixfold from 32 millions to 208 millions in 2005 to 2025, respectively, right? The physical environment again plays a very important role. Settlements and scattered and clustered. We'll discuss about the physical environment in our next lecture, right? Till then, namaskar.